fretting like a cat on a hot tin roof as law enforcement agencies closed in on her in a dramatic public spectacle. Now, a monkey on President Emerson Mnangagwa's back, the suspended Zimbabwe Miners Federation ZMF boss Henrietta Rushwaya frantically tried to call the First Lady Auxillia Mnangagwa in vain. According to reporters, police moved into strike and bust the smuggling racket involving 6 kgs of gold with 99.9% purity levels. Rushwaya anxiously made several calls, watching with horror her illicit bid to sort away bullion worth at least 330,000 US dollars collapse. As a result of the quality of the gold, a new problem has now arisen in court as to where it came from. Investigators say the gold could only have been taken from the state-run Fidelity Printers and Refiners Private Limited, a bullion buying company owned by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. The Fidelity Printers has capacity to refine gold to purity levels of 99.5% or more. Rushwaya's gold was of the highest quality, 99.9% purity, pointing to a wider network involving Fidelity, the ZMF, and security agents, as well as their political handlers. Fidelity Printers Public Relations Officer Celisani Moyo declined to comment over the form. In a well-calculated attempt to hide the gold haste, Rushwaya, with the help of state and airport security, was given safe passage after the closed-circuit television system, the CCTV, had already been switched off. What happened was that after the airport security and police had intercepted the gold, Rushwaya started fretting and moving up and down, making calls. Among several people she called, she dialed the First Lady's number, but she didn't answer. A source close to Rushwaya said. Apparently, at that time, the President Mnangagwa and the First Lady were not yet aware of what was happening. The CIO Director General Isaac Moyo and his agents were already in the picture, trying to manage the situation. They tried to reach Mnangagwa, but it took a while for them to find him. Rushwaya never found Auxillia, so those delays changed the course of events. The source said events moved too fast for Mnangagwa's people to stop the drama. By the time Moyo spoke to Mnangagwa, they were already behind the situation, as events were moving too fast, even if they still had a fighting chance to act to protect the president. Auxilia never got an opportunity to return Rushwaya's call. There was a hive of activity to contain the situation. The CIO bosses were sweating on how to protect the president from the fallout of the well-coordinated bust involving the police, the CID, and military intelligence. Intelligence needed to do that for two reasons. They had immediately picked that Auxilia and her son Collins were implicated by Aranda upon arriving at the airport after an urgent call from Rushwaya, and there was also Stephen Serai, a CIO operative who was involved. So it was an emergency, and it was thus critical for Moyo and his team to act swiftly to protect their ultimate boss, Mnangagwa. The State Security Minister Muda Owen Ncube, who is close to Mnangagwa, was also anxious about the situation. At that stage, the clumsy attempt to be followed by a series of sequenced and related actions playing out behind the scenes and in the public domain to cover up the smuggling scandal, which had gone horribly wrong, had already started. Rushwaya called the First Lady and Karanda, one of the arrested suspects, as she is close to them. She is related to the Mnangagwa family despite official attempts to distance the president from her now. That is one way in which officials and Mnangagwa supporters are trying to create a buffer between the president and Rushwaya to avoid him becoming collateral damage. But the digital footprint of their printed remarks in the public record is betraying them. When Gogo Mary Rushwaya, mother to Martin Rushwaya, who is currently the Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration and Finance in the Office of the President and Cabinet, died last year, Mnangagwa attended the funeral at number 4 Glenlawn Drive in Glenlawn suburb, Harare. It was publicly said that these two families are related. Gogo Rushwaya was Henrietta's aunt, making the arrested gold dealer a cousin to Martin, the former Minister of Defense Permanent Secretary. Sources said it was initially not clear to the police whether Karanda implicated Auxillia and Collins as name dropping in a bid to help Rushwaya wriggle out, or he was simply telling the truth. But his statement was all the same initially recorded by the police, and it was supposed to form part of the docket from which the suspects are facing smuggling, criminal abuse of office, and attempting to defeat the course of justice charges. However, after realizing that they had created an even bigger crisis by bringing Auxilia and her son's name into the racket, they retreated and made frantic efforts to delete the record. But it was too late. Sources said political pressure was at that point irresistibly mounting to protect them. However, the CID and military intelligence agents who were involved were working behind the scenes to ensure that the suspects did not wriggle out and tamper with the record. In the end, they managed to delete the names. The Chief Inspector Michael Chibaya from the Harare CID Law and Order told Magistrate Ngoni Nduna this week during a bail hearing that Terai and his accomplices had demanded that Auxilia and Collins' names be deleted. While that was happening, Moyo, after talking to Mnangagwa, moved swiftly to boot out Terai to create a safe distance between the president and the scandal. Terai was at the airport, and after the gold smuggling drama, he returned to work in town. And as you know, he worked with the president's close security unit. But that evening, that's last week on Monday, he was told that Mnangagwa and Moyo didn't want to see him anywhere near the president. He was told to go away. There was no due process followed, a top security source also said. The following day, he was arrested out of fear and to create plausible deniability. When his phone went offline around midday on Tuesday last week, we knew he was gone. After the names of Auxilia and her son had been deleted from the record, Auxilia moved to distance herself and Collins from the smuggling case. I don't engage in illegal, narrow-minded pursuits like gold smuggling, said my Auxilia Mnangagwa on social media. Auxilia then publicly challenged the police to issue a statement on the matter. I have no dealings nor involvement with Miss Henrietta Rushwaya of any illegal kind. I am challenging the police through their relevant office to issue a statement, she said. The police sources said this was almost certainly political interference and an obstruction of the course of justice. Yet the police obliged. But Chibaya said the police had not even interviewed Auxilia and Collins due to protocol hurdles. When reporters yesterday asked Nyati to explain how the First Lady and her son's name disappeared from the dockets, he said, with all due respect, that case is now before the courts, so it is now sub judice for the police to comment on it. The brazen cover-up continued with statements from the ruling ZANU-PF and Information Permanent Secretary issued to protect Mnangagwa's family. Following the arrests, the government has since been made aware that there are some individuals and groups, including one of the suspects in the case, who are abusing the first family name in illegal activities, Mangwana said. Mnangagwa's spokesperson, Mr. George Charamba, has also weighed in a peddling conspiracy theory that reporters were investigating his boss in a bid to link him to some dealers, especially David Crosby, who is said to be one of the biggest gold traders in Zimbabwe. Crosby was recently arrested for trying to defeat